So thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the organization, PK, and all the In.Site team. It's really nice. I think it's our first in-person talk for years, maybe, except like regular classes. It's always through the screen. So like bringing physical samples and like seeing your face. It's really nice. So thank you. So we will tell you about our practice at Atelier Bay, which is the name of our project. It has been going on for more than 12 years now. So it's important to know before anything else that Catherine and I are best friends. We met in school when we were 19 years old. I think we told you last week. So we spent a lot of time together, almost 7 days a week since the last 20 years, so now you know our age. We studied fashion design at Cégep, Marie-Victorin, then went at UQAM, then went here at Concordia. And we started Atelier Bay while we were still in school. So it's important for us to tell you that it's really a project of heart that we didn't think as a business. It's strongly linked to our shared values that is the heart of our friendship. And that's why we chose this picture to start. We feel it symbolizes friendship, teamwork, support. And the photographer name is Naomi Tremblay. It's a picture we always keep close.
So yes, we design and craft sustainable clothing for adults and children. But we have also been trying to redesign our job and our industry while conducting a community around our project. Today we will share the main pillar guiding our practice. We will address slow design, sustainability, collective know-how sharing, as well as our collaborative approach. We hope you will enjoy.
So we'll start to talk about slow design. As you know, fashion is a greedy and speedy industry that is really pushing the idea of overconsumption. This is obviously not what has attracted us to clothing design. Catherine and I were both interested in the construction aspect of a garment, seeing clothing as a uniform, a daily uniform. Also the relation between the body and the garment. You know, it's something we have close to our skin all day long, so it's quite important. We also both enjoy the tools, the machines related to sewing. We love the sounds of the scissors, the smell of heated cotton in a studio. So it's all things that we strive for. That's why actually we made sure that the word atelier was in the project name, because it was kind of a promise to ourselves that we would spend our time in a workshop and not just behind a screen. Like sometimes when you have a job in fashion, you're only working on a screen. We wanted to be in a physical workshop. So our hope with this project was to rethink the rhythm behind clothing. We wanted to blend the seasons in our collections, repeat classics, repeat good ideas instead of constantly creating new design and throwing ideas in the garbage. So we're trying to construct a form of continuity that goes over trends, that surpasses trends. And we are really trying to connect ourselves to authenticity, to capture like real moments and to be part of the daily lives of our community. So we are not doing like red carpets, clothing. We're really doing like daily objects that we share. So we'll show you a video that is from a few years ago that captures, I think, those ideas that we just mentioned. And now we'll see if our videos are working. Yes. And do we have sound? Don't have sound. Okay, there's no sound. I can just talk over it. The music is not important.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. That's fine. I'll be the sound. So basically this project was, well, it's a photo montage, so it's not a video. It's film photos taken on a weekend with our team at the time. That's a few years ago, maybe in 2015 or something, before we had kids.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was supplied with a luggage filled with our collection. So we all left with that in a car. And everyone had a camera with them. So like there was a photographer in the team, but everyone was also a photographer. And it's just like 48 hours of fun that we try to capture, where we're wearing the collections as we would anyway normally do. So this is a way to share images that are more authentic, I hope, and this is what came out of it. So can I stop it? Okay.
So eco-conception became something essential in our process. When we are at the drawing table, we often change the design of the collection to improve the environmental impact of each garment. How we can change the design to reduce waste? So we have using the same tortoise button and the same grayish bias that we use for 8 years now. And why? It's so we don't have extra after production. So year after year, we can just use the leftover from the first production. And also, yeah, so we can repair also if somebody loses a button. We have the same button for all those years, so they just come back, or we can just ship a button to them.
So this,
Excuse me.
So in 2020, we announced to our community the launch of our end-of-life program. So customers can now bring an Atelier B piece that they don't wear anymore, regardless of its state. It can even be full of holes. We will still accept it. We take it back. And this project lets us make, well, first it helps us on an anthropologic point of view to see how our garments have been evolving in the last decade, because sometimes people bring us that is far in our memories, and it's very interesting to see what happened to it in the meantime. And it also makes pieces of our collection accessible to more people by selling them at a very low price, so then more people can enjoy our product. It's mostly like a neighborhood project for now, so people come to our studio sales and they enjoy. Became very popular. And we also offer the clothes that are in still good conditions to organizations that are working with like reinsertion programs or like homeless people, but only according to their needs, because a big problem that those organizations have right now is just making like the choosing what they need and not. They receive so much that they don't need, that they are losing time, and sometimes it becomes like not helpful for them to receive those. So it's like we ask them before bringing anything to make sure that they can make good use of it. And it all started because I had a nightmare. What? I had a nightmare that was recurring, and I was always telling Catherine about, I was dreaming that I was under a pile of all of the clothing that we made in the last 12 years. And I couldn't breathe. And I was like terrorized, and I was waking up and I was like, okay, Catherine, what did happen to all of those pieces that we put out in the world? You know, where are they, and in which care are they in, and what are people stuck with them? Did they throw them in the trash can? So we started thinking about how we could make sure that we as a brand be responsible for our product for all their lives. So that's how it started. We calculated that also that all of our efforts to optimize our use of material, you know, we put smaller shapes in the remnants of fabric. We optimize our, when Catherine is doing the patterns, to make sure that like all of the fabric is used. but there are always, you know, those pieces around the negative. So it was between 1 and 2 tons of fabric scrap going to the landfill every year. And I mean, we are a tiny company, so if we are making 2 tons of scraps, imagine like the big chains. And nothing in Canada exists to recycle or reuse those small remnants, like except on an artisanal level, but they cannot solve our solution. So those bags filled with beautiful colors of linens and organic cottons that, you know, took so much energy to make, we're now going to the landfill. And all of our clothes that were at the end of life were also going to the landfill. So there was a solution to create something new out of it, and this is where we arrive with our idea of the circular economy project.
So we were inspired by the traditional technique of paper making. So we transform our fabric into paste, and we made tests until we prove that we could do a 3D object out of it. We brought some example here on the table. So this is the artisanal way to make it. You can feel like it's like papier mâché, and so.
Yeah, this is the industrial way of making it.
So with this new material full of possibility, we attracted SODEC and Recyc Québec, and they became partner to our research, so we can try to do industrial the material, this solution. And for now, we're working just with our remnants, but we have the idea to use more than just what we do, like to collect all our community of designers.
Everyone who's working with natural fiber could benefit of this, this idea.
And the object made with this technique can be also retransformed at the end of their life. So when the object is not used anymore, we can just put it back in the paste and remake a new object without losing any quality. So we make everything locally, so Montreal in our workshop and some small sewer. In our eyes, the local production is essential not to lose any knowledge of the craftsmanship. We have seen many of our contractors since 2010 growing. At first, when we began, the clothing industry locally was almost not there anymore. So now we see like the double space, contractors are always busy, and we saw with the pandemic, when everything came back to local, we felt that being autonomous locally, it's really important. It values our work and the work of the contractors, and they were really proud of their work and seeing that their knowledge were appreciated. And we hope that this knowledge will be transferred from one generation to another. So at the workshop, Anne-Marie and I, as well with other members of the team, were giving workshop, and we invite our community to learn and try. The goal is to give them some autonomy to care for their world. It's also make more them conscious of the work we put in their in making their garment, and it helped them to make more durable choice when they shop for clothing.
And you will have some of those workshops in the following weeks with us. We also started teaching in 2018, obviously, that's why we're here, and giving conferences, and we give talk, and we always accept to participate to all kind of invitation just to make sure that we can address those problems and make sure that we, raise awareness about our industry and how bad it is. And I think it's essential to collectively reflect on matters that we care for. Our work is larger than just making things. It's also trying to change the perception of clothing and not see it just as something that we can buy for $5 and throw in the trash after. So for that purpose, we use obviously medias, trying to talk with journalists. We have an online journal or blog. We use social networks, and we recently started something that we call like a podcast, but it's not really a podcast, but it's like interviews, and you can listen to it as a podcast. It gives us the possibility to have deeper conversations, which we don't have on social networks usually, about subjects that need to be addressed. According to us and our teams, it's always subjects that we have questions about in the studio. And it gives us the opportunity to invite people who are directly concerned to listen to their thoughts. So we launched the first episode last month, it's in French only, but it's about clothing and gender identity. And now we can, have a non-gender collection in our boutique and make sure that everyone feels welcome. It also addresses grossophobia, so it's all subjects that are very important in our field of work. That said, we also really encourage a collaborative approach in our own studio. Co-design is very core for us. We co-design with the whole team, including team members with no design background. We have a collaborative approach also for specific project. We work with artists. We started working with a supplier lately to develop something. Craftspeople to develop new ideas with material that we might not have the knowledge to work with. So we brought a few to show you. We have leather slides made with Saint-Marc, which is a leather artisan. We have a silk scarf illustrated by the artist Marjolaine Bourdois. It's up front, but it's fine. This is nice about being together today. You can come after and touch and feel them. We have a sweater that is also seen on the picture that is from our collaboration with Montloup, which is a supplier. It's a knit company located in Montreal, founded by Lila Rousselet, who is herself an artist and a teacher at Cégep du Vieux-Montréal in construction textile. So her goal is to locally knit the most sustainable fabric possible. Big challenge. And for this project, she wanted to showcase the most ethical and responsible fibers she had access to. And she asked us to design something to showcase them. So they are made from naturally colored organic cotton from Sally Fox, who is a pioneer in the textile industry in California. She's actually growing cotton that she trademarked that is already colored. So like the t-shirts that you see, the tops, it's not dyed. Well, the orange is dyed, I'll tell you about it, but the grayish color, the pinky one, she also has green shades, and so it's very beautiful, and it doesn't need the extra layer of dyeing for the fabric, it's just naturally growing colored. Then the fiber was threaded in North America, and then knitted in Montreal, and then designed by us, so it's like a local recipe. The one with the shades, we also have an orange one here. It's naturally dyed by Marie-Ève Dion of the project Marie Les Bains. So she's growing plants and dyeing naturally fibers. Yeah, so we made the cloth before and then she dyed it, which gives this beautiful effect. So she's located in Eastman, and the plants she uses matter for the ones who are interested. So it's women that are making our industry better, so it was really great to do a capsule with them. I don't know if we're good on time or...
Yeah, a couple minutes.
Okay. I'll skip the video then. Show you another time.
Okay, so We also think it's positive to have a collaborative approach in the community outside of our own products. So we open our doors to host event, exhibition, book launch, other designers to show their new collection, and because they don't have a brick and mortar shop. This is the picture of the book we made for the 10th anniversary of our store. It is a tribute to friendship, collaboration, to community, and everything that happened to our workshop in the past decade. You are welcome to have a look through it after. We're going to leave some on the table so you can look at them.
Last thing we wanted to talk about is the influence of places on us, because I think it's major in our parcours, our path. Our workshop in the Milan has been, before we arrived there, it was a hats and caps factory for more than 60 years, I think, or 70 years. When we discovered that place by accident, there was a man there, Barry, who was 65 years old. He welcomed us, he gave us a tour of the place, and we spent hours with him talking about his work, his family story, all kind of anecdotes about the neighborhood. He arrived in the building when he was 5 years old, and at that time he was 65 and he was alone. Everyone else in his family was passed away. So he announced to us that he sold the place and that the workshop would be destroyed and it would be like a brand new condo for the gentrified Milan. So we asked him for the landlord number and this is how we got the workshop, and they didn't destroy anything. The huge wooden table, which is like 35 feet long, is still there. The cracking floor is still there, and we love everything about it. Actually, Barry came to the shop last weekend to say hi, and he still makes hat, but on his own. And he's really happy to tell us that now he has a paycheck every 2 weeks. I think he's 76 or something now. So this place did impact our work, our mood, our ideas, and we feel like we are part of a continuous story by being there that started way before us and that hopefully will last after us. Also, a few years ago, for a year and a half, we had a shop in an art gallery in Old Montreal. You can see the picture on the lower right side of the screen. We filled the space with the work of artists we admired, and just the fact of organizing those exhibitions and spending time in this creative space and unusual with the unusual walls and the art in it, it did affect our practice. So now that we are teaching here in this environment that is so different from our studio, spending afternoons with each of you, it will probably affect our path as well. And as it's communicating vase, well, we bring our inspiration today, and PK and Miranda, into yours, but it's also like, it's vice versa. You also bring things to us, so we're really looking forward to see where we'll go from here. Thank you.
We have a couple of minutes for questions.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm curious about the recycling of the fabrics to create those objects that you've brought, because I've heard of and sort of kind of been a part of different projects that tried to do similar things, and one problem that always sort of came up was how to get people to actually come and deliver their used, because these are scraps, but it also parts of the textiles that you had sold that people have brought back. So what systems did you have to put in place, and how did you even promote that kind of part of the project in order to have it actually succeed?
First of all, we only recycle Atelier Bay clothing, because there was an article in the newspaper one day and we arrived to the studio and there was bags and bags of old clothes on our balcony. and we don't have like the resources to deal with that. We deal with our customers, Atelier Big Clothing, and our remnants, which is already a huge volume for our type of project. But the customers, when we announced it, they were directly drawn to the shop to bring them because it was kind of solving a problem for them. Sometimes, you know, they don't wear something because their body had changed or their taste had changed, which is totally normal, but the cloth is still in good state. And they are worried to give it like to Renaissance because maybe the person who will get it will not appreciate as much as they are. So they were keeping them. So when we said like we will take good care of them and make sure that they are responsibly find something that someone who loves them or responsibly discarded, they were super excited and they brought it. At first we offered like a discount on their next bot, but we're slowly removing that so that it just becomes a habit and that they don't need like a candy at the end. But some of them don't even ask for the deal. They're just really happy and they are used to come now to see the second hand during our sales as well. There's always a section. So it's, yeah, I think they are already very sensitive to like everything related to sustainability because they are our customers, so it's easy. And the production remnants for us is a big volume that we have to deal. Actually, not a lot of people are bringing us garments that goes in the recycling program because they are in a good state. So it's mostly remnants, and we know other designers working only with natural fiber that could also add their remnants, and we could slowly, you know, include other companies like that. Okay.
And do you see, do you envision a point where the project will grow to the size where you'll be able to take in fibers that weren't Atelier B, like weren't from you? Do you see getting that big, or are you happy with sort of?
For now, we are at the research part with a company in Trois-Rivières that they made, because at first we did like a sheet, big sheet of the paper fabric, and we were like laser cutting,
which is not sustainable at all.
So we did some die cut also, but it was remnants also with those techniques. So what we wanted to do with the company in Trois-Rivières, so they make the paste and they just they do thermoformage.
It's molds. Like this is for tomatoes, but we would make our own mold. This is at the step we are now, and they will thermoformage. I have no idea how to transform that, but they aspire like water out of it, and with heat they shape it so it becomes like, that's why it's more slick than the artisanal techniques that, thank you, vacuum forming. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And they are, what is interesting is that they are scientific people. So they are used to work without any aesthetic idea in mind. So for them, it's really important to separate all of the fibers because they have different properties, but they don't care about the colors. For us, it's to find a nice recipe between, like, do we have DSL? No.
No.
There's one that we didn't bring because it's very fragile. It's made out of eucalyptus, the tencel material. It's very like smoochy, what it gives as a result, compared to like this that is more hard. And when we do a nice blend, it has like, it's also that the tencel absorb a lot of the color pigment, so it gives richer color. Like those are all black. So when we, if I'm telling too much, tell me to stop, but when we transform into paste, the tones lower from like 2 or 3 colors, so it's like faded a little bit, but the tencel adds more richness to the color. The linen is very grainy, the cotton is more like neutral. So we're trying to find the right recipe, and for them, splitting the colors to work with them like paint was something usually they blend everything and it's brown, but they work with wood, they don't work with textile. So this mix of like scientific and our experience with textile, our aesthetic approach, it's very nice, it's very fun, and really striving.
Okay. Do you make clothing for children at all? Like with
Yes.
kids, there's like high turnover of clothing, of course, and aesthetic changes and everything. So does that like impact your practice as well?
Can you repeat the last part?
Does making clothing for children impact your practice as well?
Because we had children? Or
No. Like, do you make clothing for children? And
Yes.
so then, like, because there's high turnover of like what they wear, does that like
We
impact
started making clothes for children because we had balances of fabric and remnants that were too small for adult clothing. And Catherine was pregnant, that's why I'm pointing at her. So we thought like baby clothing and small children would be a good solution to use smaller pieces. And we try to do things that we use the same material than for adults. So it's the parents who are wearing our collections that are taking care of the clothes for their children. So they wash them together, so they put the same care into it. And we've been testing them over and over. We try to do things that can be passed from one kid to another. But it's a very small part of our project. It's mostly women, men, and non-gendered clothing for adults that we do. It's like a little fun on the side.
So a lot of conversations about sustainability and fashion have to do with reducing like the unsustainability of fashion, if that makes any sense, like reducing its impacts, whether it's in terms of like pollution or harvesting resources, just using less and polluting less, right? But I've long been sort of interested in this idea if we can move that conversation away from just reducing harm to actually kind of nurturing nature. And I wonder if you guys have any vision for how fashion generally and like Atelier be more locally can move away from thinking about sustainability as like harm reduction and towards actually nurturing nature through fashion.
I love that. That's why we started working with natural fibers first. We completely avoid material with plastic in it. And when we use spandex, because our underwear have spandex for quality reason and durability and comfort, it's a thread of spandex that is surrounded by cotton. So when we wash it, there's no microplastic or almost no microplastic going in the rivers and in the oceans. But that's not nurturing, that's just not hurting. That's a good question. I mean, it's difficult to think about it that way. Sometimes when we start thinking about everything related to like clothing, we want to stop making any new thing. It happens like maybe once a year. But then we have to go back to the basics of why we are doing that and remind ourselves that like our community gains confidence and comfort by wearing their clothing. As we said earlier, we all wear clothing. We spend our days touching it. So if art is something that we accept, I think that a clothing that makes us feel positive is something that we could also embrace. But I don't like the idea of trying to make, that's why we started the zero waste product with our remnants. Instead of reducing, well, okay, let's stop reducing, let's do something that to use the like 100% of our remnants. Trying to be more radical in the way we approach things instead of just a little improvement, a little improvement. And when bigger companies are doing greenwashing, it's very easy to notice because they are taking this small, tiny action that has no big impact on their company, but is really easy to market and package and embellish. And they are putting all of the money on like talking about this thing that has no impact on the chain or on the system. So we try to, if we are not still able to nurture the earth, at least we try to be more radical in the way we change things. That's where we are for now, but let's keep brainstorming together.
I actually think you're a great example of nurturing already. You're not articulating it, but just by showing us, and Miranda too, by showing us the beauty of the material, what you actually put on next to your body, when you start doing the dyes and, you know, feeling linen, cotton, as opposed to polyester, I'm not talking about high-tech sports material, but you can feel the difference on your skin. To me, that's a celebration of your body in relationship to the clothing you wear. So I think you're already doing that celebration without articulating it, nurturing and celebrating what nature can do.
I think, yeah.
Oh, you got another question?
Yeah, that actually led into a second part of the question that I wanted to ask was, I'm curious if there's like, you guys have an aesthetic approach to sustainability, if that makes any sense, whether sustainability informs the aesthetics you choose, or choosing, making aesthetic choices that will make garments more sustainable. If that's a consideration, how you guys approach that.
I talk a lot, but she's the thinker behind. I just repeat her ideas after. So we addressed it a little bit when we were talking about eco-conception. But yes, okay, we did another talk today, so I'm like, was it now or in the previous one? But when we design, we will sometimes change our pattern to make sure that it needs less resources or it has less waste. But it's also thinking in terms of like when we were saying surpassing trends, this is also something that we try to go over just seasons and over like things that are really trendy right now but will not last for long. Or so we try to do things that are maybe less like bold or less flashy, but like are easy to wear. And we see our customers wearing something that we made this year with something we made 4 years ago, and you can tell which one is the latest. So this is something that like makes us proud. So yes, that's a little bit what we meant about seeing the clothing as a uniform instead of just doing something that will attract the eye right now. And we don't do, as we said, like gala dresses or things that will be worn once or that are that needs a lot of resource, but that will have a very short lifespan.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're going to wrap up for now. Thank you very much for your attention today and for the really interesting conversations that you've engaged with. It's been a bit of a gallop across various issues of sustainability, from how we deal with artifacts from our past, parachutes, how we deal with environment and a process of making with, and how we make things for the lived experience and for our bodies, and how that can encompass also deeply thought of sustainability loops. So if you're in DART 391, Sociocultural Design and Research Practice, you can have a 20-minute break and we will see you back in EV. Okay, EV 6720? Yeah. Should we meet back over there? Or here? I think we might. They need to form groups. Do you want to meet here or not?
Do we have access to?
Thank you for joining us for day 3 of the In.Site Symposium. You're here at Fourth Space. For the folks on Zoom and in the live stream, just a reminder that this is being live streamed and will be re-uploaded to YouTube, so you can access it at any point. Thank you again. Have a good day.